Alright, back tonight with chapter 24, called Joash Repairs the Temple. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. And Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada got for him 2 wives, and he had sons and daughters. After this, Joash decided to restore the house of the Lord. He gathered the priests and Levites and said to them, "Go out to the cities of Judah, and gather from all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that you act quickly." The Levites did not act quickly. So the king summoned Jehoiada the chief and said to him, "Why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax levied by Moses, the servant of the Lord, in the congregation of Israel for the tent of testimony? For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, have broken into the house of God and had also used all the dedicated things in the house of the Lord for the Baals," or basically, demons. So the king commanded, and they made a chest and set it outside the gate of the house of the Lord, and proclamation was made throughout Judah and Jerusalem to bring in for the Lord the tax that Moses, the servant of God, laid on Israel in the wilderness. And all the princes and all the people rejoiced and brought the tax and dropped it into the chest until they had finished. And whenever the chest was brought to the king's officers by the Levites, when they saw that there was much money in it, the king's secretary and officer, the chief priest, would come and empty the chest and take it and return it to its place. Thus they did day after day and collected money in abundance. And the king and Jehoiada gave it to those who had charge of the work of the house of the Lord, and they hired masons and carpenters to restore the house of the Lord, and also workers in iron and bronze to repair the house of the Lord. So those who were engaged in the work labored, and repairing went forward in their hands, and they restored the house of God to its proper condition and strengthened it. And when they had finished, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, and with it were made utensils for the house of the Lord, both for the services and for the burnt offerings, and dishes for incense, and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt offerings in the house of the Lord regularly all the days of Jehoiada. But Jehoiada grew old and full of days. He died. He was 130 years old at his death. And they buried him in the city of David, or Jerusalem, among the kings, because he had done good in Israel and towards God in his house. And after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came in and paid a homage to the king. Then the king listened to them, and they abandoned the house of the Lord, the God of their fathers, and served the Asherim and the idols. And wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this guilt of theirs. Yet he sent prophets among them to bring them back to the Lord. These testified against them, but they would not pay attention. Joash's treachery. Then the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, clothed Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada the priest, and he stood above the people and said to them, "Thus says God, why do you break the commandments of the Lord so that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has forsaken you." They conspired against him, and by command of the king, they stoned him with stones in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king did not remember the kindness that Jehoiada, Zechariah's father, had shown him, but killed his son. And when he was died, he said, "May the Lord see and avenge." So whenever this prophet died, he of course asked God to avenge his death, whereas God would later come against Joash and have him killed pretty much for killing his prophet. Joash assassinated. At the end of the year, the army of the Syrians came up against Joash. They came to Judah and Jerusalem and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all their spoil to the king of Damascus. Thus, though the army of the Syrians had come with few men, the Lord delivered into their hand a very great army, because Judah had forsaken the Lord, the God of their fathers. Thus they executed judgment on Joash. When they had departed from him, leaving him severely wounded, his servants conspired against him because of the blood of the son of Jehoiada the priest, and killed him on his bed. So he died, and they buried him in the city of David or Jerusalem. They did not bury him in the tomb of the kings. Those who conspired against him were Zabad the son of Shaniah the Ammonite, and Jezebad the son of Shimrith the Moabite. Accounts of his sons and of many oracles against him, and of the rebuilding of the house of God, are written in the story of the books of the kings, and Amaziah his son reigned in his place. The 24 is very interesting, of course. You have Joash is starting to repair the temple, and that would be, of course, Solomon's temple. Actually, he's trying to restore that, and of course, Joash commits treachery by killing God's prophet, and God's prophet calls out to the Lord to avenge his death. So then God has Joash assassinated for killing God's prophet. So God doesn't play around when it comes to his children. He will always protect his children. He'll always avenge them. And I'm saying, don't you dare come against God's shouts. If you do, God will come against you. He will seek you, and he will revenge that on you. No doubt about that. So 24. And I'll bet with 25 here very shortly.